guys, Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. So I always get this question, guys. You always ask me in the comments, Ash, great, you talked about you've made a few videos in the past about champions you don't need to book to get a lot of value from. What about legendaries that everybody should book pretty much no matter what? In other words, what are great use cases on champions to use our hard-earned skill tomes that you still can't farm in this game? I mean, you can get them from Advanced Quest, you can get them from Clan Shop, there's some areas, right, with the Bazaar, but man, those legendary skill tomes, I asked on my last Plarium interview, I asked Cyrilla, I think one of the first questions, like, okay, is there ever going to be a way that we can farm up pages at least?
That is also on the table, but again, we don't think that there is, we don't consider this problem critical. But yeah, I see that you're not really satisfied with this answer.
They're just not adding it, man. It's the last thing. We asked for a dupe system, they added it. You know, it could be a lot better, obviously, but we still have something at least. But really, the skill tome farming is what I really want on top of a PvP, right? I want a full like clan war system, not clan versus clan tournaments. Anyway, I'm getting off the off track here. But what I decided to do in this video is, listen, guys, if I was going to make a list of every legendary champion that you ought to book, we'd be here freaking forever. I mean, I think most of you know, if you're lucky enough to pull a Krisk, you should book him. He's like the best champion in the game, right? So if you look on a tier list, for example, and you happen to pull one of the best champs out there in the entire game, a champion like Sify, a champion like Krisk, a champion like Lydia, for example, right? Yes, you should use your books on these champions. What are we looking for when we book any champion, right? Like what makes it a good book investment versus a bad book investment? Well, first of all, look at a champion like Venus, right? A champion that we can get so this is already on 3-turn cooldown. Let's pretend it was a 4, right? We can get this from a 4 to a 3-turn cooldown, a debuffer, or we can take a debuffer, any debuffer, and bring it from a 75 to 100% chance, or a 50 to 100% chance. If we're increasing that debuff chance, we usually say that is worth booking those champions. What about champions that are not worth booking? Well, champions that we're not getting much. Let's just say, you know, just damage, for example. Let's just pretend a champion had mostly just damage, or maybe an improved shield or something. Exceptions to every rule, like Valkyrie, I would book up, even though it's improved shield on her A2. You also get a turn meter down, or a turn down, excuse me, cooldown. But, you know, for me, I am not that interested. Or in an arena champion. So a champion like, for example, Ionica. Now, I'm not saying she's not worth your books. Like, in a vacuum, if you have a bunch of books to spare, first of all, lend a few to me. I have 0.
Hang on, Charles wants to say hi.
Do you have any milk?
But secondarily, like, sure, you could use books on her, and it's great. It's only going to make her better, right? But a champion like her, I mean, you can get her from the clan shop, and she doesn't really need to be booked if you're using her in the arena, right? You open up with this A2 ability, attacking one enemy, perfect veil, and then an extra turn, and then you come in with the Elven Judgment and hopefully kill everybody, right? Ignoring shield buffs. Whether this on a 5 or a 4-turn cooldown, sure, again, nice to have, but it's not a required book champion. So in today's video, instead of going through all the best champions in the game, I'm going to go through champions that you either get for free or champions that were previous fusions in the game, or fragment summons. So a lot of you guys probably have some of these champions at least. And I think this is part of an overall bigger point here. That is, you can get by in this game.
Oh no.
I've said this before in the past, but I'm gonna say it again. I got my soapbox. Here we go. You can get by in this game just fine, just giving or getting what they give you.
What? Knew it.
Stop letting him make you realize stuff.
Sometimes for free, like Ultimate Death Knight. We still have some time left, by the way, so anybody watching this video within a couple weeks of you know, going live can get Ultimate Death Knight, who is, I guess, a good place to start, right? He's a great place to start because he's a fantastic champion that's free for everybody, and booking him makes a lot of sense. Bring up a 100% chance on the decrease attack, 100% chance on fear for the arena against legendary champions. Bring this down from a 4 to 3-turn cooldown. More importantly, get comfy, everyone, because we can take this from a 5 to a 3-turn cooldown. Ultimate Death Knight is definitely worth your books, especially if you find yourself with a use case for a champion like this, right? Every account is different, every experience is different, but definitely number 1 would be Ultimate Death Knight. Number 2 is going to be one of my favorite dudes they've added to the game recently. You know, I'm a massive fan of Beveled of the Thorn. Beveled?
Beveled.
Oh, every time!
I don't freaking know, guys. I'm sorry. Beveled of the Thorn. Really cool champion. He's got an AoE ×2. He's got a provoke 100%, and we're booking the cooldown. So this is perfect to book, right? We get 100% provoke. That's really important to get that up to 100%. Also a leech to the table. Can land on weak hits. Yes, please. And then on the Briar Nexus, we have another AoE attack. Damage increases. He's healing all allies, placing a shield. Of course, we want him to do this more often. So a 5 to a 4 turn cooldown. So definitely worth your investment there. Next up, let's just get it out of the way, guys. Cylindrix!
I could just kiss you right now. Well, we don't have time for that.
I don't know, we have a little time.
She's a fantastic champion. I always joke around about how much I love Silda Drakes, but to me, I said this, back when she was added, and sure, they've added a lot of amazing champions, Ultimate Death Knight being one of them that you can get for free since Silda Drakes a couple years ago. But she was the best thing they ever did. A daily login champion who's a great reviver, a great CC champion with stuns, and then she has this passive heal every single time she gets a turn with random increased speeds as well. She's definitely a champion, especially if you're a newer player, maybe you just got Silda Drakes. She's worth booking. Trust me, she's worth booking. You can bring this revive all the way from a 6 right down to a 4-turn cooldown. Get that stun from a 20 up to a 35% chance and get that to a 3-turn cooldown. Definitely worth it on Silda Drakes. The other best daily login reward champion, including everybody, is Vizix, right? Vizix is insane now after her buff. She was mediocre at best, but now she's great. You can bring this AoE decreased speed to 100% chance of landing and to a 3-turn cooldown instead, right? On the A3, again, just one book required to get this AoE provoke. Placing a provoke's not predicated on a critical hit, and she's a void champion, so a very dependable provoke. You can get that down to a 3-turn cooldown just with one legendary book if you get lucky. Either way, we still want those books in the A2 as well. So great, right? You can also have a 100% chance of decreasing turn meter off of the A1. So definitely a champion worth booking that all of you guys, again, will get eventually here. Next up is going to be Directstar Blood Twin. He's kind of a different case because we're booking him up for his passive, right? 55% chance to place an HP burn for 2 turns every time the attacker when hit. Listen, I'll be real with you guys. Out of all the champions that I've listed so far, I might hold off a little bit because you can still get by, Directstar maybe in a regen set, maybe soloing some Doom Tower bosses. You can still get by with just a 55% chance against, like, let's say the Frost Spider. However, if you want to get full utility out of this champion, that AoE provoke of 40% isn't that high. It increases to 100% chance if they're under an HP burn, but I hate that conditional kind of nature of abilities. I like to just have a dependable dependable provoke, right? You can get that up to not only a 60% chance, but also bring that down to a 3-turn cooldown. So let me put it this way. If you're relying on Directstar Blood Twin to help you with CC in progression in dungeons, you probably are worth booking him. If you're just relying on him to maybe say solo again the Frost Spider in Doom Tower, well, I would, you could hold off, I guess, on these passives, although it helps take that Frost Spider down a little bit faster. You're still going to get the job done. So maybe kind of a conditional pick, but I thought he was worth mentioning because you can pick up, the fragments, shards or whatever of Directstar Blood Twin in the Bazaar. All right, next up is going to be another dude who I absolutely love. I skipped the fusion, but I was lucky enough to pull him afterwards. I'm glad I did. Sigmund the High Shield. I love this dude, man. He's got an AoE provoke. Again, 4-turn, bring it down to a 3-turn. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a provoke. Let's make it a 75% chance of placing a provoke, 75 to place a decreased attack as well. Yeah, let's make it 100%. Let's bring it down to a 3-turn cooldown. That's a very dependable provoke and decrease attack, great for Hydra Clan Boss. And then on the A3, check this out. Shield of the Realm gives you a shield, gives you the big version of Strengthen, a great ability. It's on a 5-turn cooldown. 2 books, bring it down to a 3-turn cooldown. Definitely a champion worth booking in my opinion. Let's keep it going here with Tatura Rhyme-Hide. Man, this is so good. I was gonna say an underrated fusion. It's hard to say underrated because, or fragment summon. Was it a fragment summon or a fusion? What were you, Tatura?
I don't remember.
Fragment summon, I think. I don't know. All right. So she has. He has. Sorry. Did I just screw up the gender of this beast? Block debuffs, increase defense, bring it down to a 3-turn cooldown. This is an insanely good support ability. Big version of the increased defense and block buffs for 2 turns every 3 turns is a lot better than every 5 turns. And then again, speaking of 5 turns, we can bring it down to a 4 with a perfect veil on all allies except this champion, also with a shield. He's just an insane support champion that you want to take advantage of, right? And to take full advantage, we definitely want to to bring that, especially that A2 down to a 3-turn cooldown. Absolutely worth your books. I'm imagining if you fused Tatura Reinhide, you probably booked him out. Hopefully. If not, what are you waiting for? All right, Arbiter. Well, listen, she's the old school, the champion that you get from completing the quest in this game. You want to bring this. Here's the thing about Arbiter, right? You can make a very compelling case, kind of like Directstar, that you can hold off on books for Arbiter, or you can make a very compelling case that you shouldn't hold off on books on Arbiter. So she's going to be the second champion that really falls in this gray area, and that's why, again, it depends on you. You know your account best, right? So let's make the case for using a book on her, right? So the books go right to cooldowns on the A4 and the A3. That's great. And then we're getting a 100% chance of decreasing all enemy buffs on the A2 ability. If you're just using her in the arena, which most endgame players just use her pretty much in the arena, if that's all you're doing, you can get by with just unbooked Arbiter, right? You can lead off with the A3 ability, you can revive, you can get the extra turn, you can come back into the Mentor of Heroes, and you know, that's really it, right? If you're relying on her in PvE, and she's great for PvE support or Hydra Clan Boss, you definitely want to book her in that situation. So again, I'm purposely including a couple champions that do have that gray area, just kind of talk these decisions out. It really does depend on where you're using some of these champions. Generally speaking, in the arena, when you're only relying on a champion to use their abilities often one time, well, you can often get times save some books and to kind of hold off on booking those champions. Even if you want to, you might get around to it later. All right, next up is going to be a champion they just added to the game. Oh boy, I'm a massive fan of Mighty Uko, guys. Mighty Uko has a decreased attack on the A1. It's an AoE attack, right? So right out the gate here, we're bringing this from a 50 all the way to a 75%, 80% with the Sniper Mastery that gives you an extra 5% as well. Dude, right there, it's worth booking, especially for Hydra Clan Boss. But then it just keeps getting better here. We have a 4-turn cooldown. We're not booking to reduce the cooldown here, but each hit, when we're attacking 2 times, has a chance of removing 2 random buffs from the target. So we can be removing 100% 4 buffs in the arena. That's a great ability to book down, especially for an ability that does not have a minus cooldown. We get 2 minus cooldowns here on the increased speed and or the revive. You can use it without the revive as well. So if you're counting on Mighty Uko for increased speed, you definitely want to book out that A3 ability. Let's go kick it kind of old school fragment summons here, guys, with Ironbrago. Definitely a champion worth booking here, guys. He has an AoE provoke, 75% chance win booked, 3-turn win booked as well. And then on the A2 especially, increased defense for 3 turns. If you book it down to a 3-turn, then you have increased defense basically on everybody pretty much all the time, right? Depending on how fast Ironbrago is compared to your other, allies on your team. But still, I mean, this is great. There's only 2 champions in the game, I want to say, that have a increased defense that's the same period of their cooldown. Ironbrago in Black Knight, you know? Okay, next up is going to be none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Helikov. Of course, man. No-brainer. This is one of the most no-brainers in the entire video.
I have a brain, you know?
Devoted servants, yeah, the block damage, yeah, we'll have that on a 2-turn cooldown, thank you very much, right? You can make the same case for Roshkar the Tower. I'm only gonna include one of these champions here in terms of the unkillable. Same thing with Sir Nick, but essentially, yes, very, very worth booking champions. They're gonna have an unkillable or a block damage if you're trying to build an unkillable or a block damage team. Heck, even if you're not trying to, having this ability on a 4-turn cooldown is absolutely insane, especially when you get increased defense after it expires for 2 turns. So the obvious synergy there is tremendous, and then you get to bring this this A2, this great shield ability, down to a 3-turn cooldown as well. All right, let's get into the Dark Elves here, guys, because there's 3 of them. We already talked about Vizix, but Mythralla Lifebane, oh my god, she's one of the most insanely powerful champions in the game. Everybody eventually will get her from Hydra Clan Boss. Might take you a while, but you'll get there. You'll get there. Stick with it, kid. You can do it. Dude, nice and simple, right? We get a Hex, increased defense, increased attack, bring it from a 5 to a 3, all with 2 books. And look at this. Oh, this is how they ought to make legendary champions, ladies and gentlemen. We get a cleanse, we get a strengthen, we get a shield. Take it from a 5 to a 3. Yeah, she's absolutely insane. Just like one of the best champions in the game, and more more than worth your legendary books. Like, that's the first place I'm putting my legendary books. Lydia, once you beat all the Faction Wars 3 stars on every single faction crypt in the game, you're definitely going to want to book her out. Take this A2 ability from a 4 to a 3 turn cooldown, because there's not a lot of abilities in the game that are better than this. Arguably, there's none in the game that are better than this, with a decreased defense, a weaken, a strengthen, and an increased speed, all the strong versions on a 3 turn cooldown. That is absolutely insane. You also want to bring this death hold down from a 9 to a 7 turn cooldown. Not as impactful as the A2 ability, but Lydia is, of course, one of the more powerful champions in the game. You definitely want to take advantage of that. Mother Seibel, I am an unabashed Mother Seibel fan. Decreased speed, 50% chance on an A1. Yeah, we want to bring that up to a 50% chance. I love decreased speed. I think it's one of the most underrated abilities in the game. And check this out. 1, 2, 3 books. 3 less cooldowns on this. Take it from a 6 to a 3. And the same thing on the A3 ability. The A3 ability, Uncanny Transfer, I would say is not as important to book as the A1 and the A2. But really, this champion, Mother Seibel, I'm a massive fan. I've said this before. One of the fastest champions in the game as well. Such a big fan of Mother Seibel. Hey, let's stay here for a second. He wasn't a fusion. He wasn't a fragment summon, but he was a battle pass legendary. I know it's kind of an old school champion, but they gave him a buff, and it's a pretty substantial one. Taking this Ice Grave armor from a 5 to a 3 turn cooldown is going to be tremendous. He's the only champion that has increased defense in the big version of Strengthen on a 3 turn cooldown on the same skill. Definitely take advantage of Whirlum Frost King. I think he's so underrated right now. I think it's definitely worth booking, getting an additional cooldown on the A2 as well, and bring this to a 100% chance of placing a decreased crit damage and decreased accuracy. Cannot be resisted from a Void champion. He's definitely worthy of the Void title, in my opinion. Now, guys, 2 more. Brogne, obviously, right? Obviously. An AoE, 100% chance of removing a random buff when booked. 100% chance of removing a random debuff from all allies when booked. And we can bring it down to a 3 turn cooldown, improving the shield of all allies by 30% of the damage inflicted. Definitely worth booking out this champion, guys. Resilient Glow, even more important to book this A3 ability, with block debuffs, increase attack for 2 turns. Also a shield. Shield cannot be removed. And yeah, great ability, but even better on a 3 turn cooldown. And the last one I'm going to include is Nari the Lucky, guys. I could have included champions like Ninja, Deliana. Personally, Ninja, yes. Deliana, no. Alexander, depends if you need a debuffer in terms of the free champions, but I figure a lot of you guys watching this might not have been around when they were free, so I'm not including them, but yeah, Ninja's certainly worth booking. Nari the Lucky, dude. This guy's really cool, right? He's got 2 AoE attacks on his A2 and his A3. Still, he's placing decreased accuracy and decreased resistance. 2 hard to find big version of those debuffs. Let's get that up to 100%. Let's get it down to a 3 turn cooldown. On the A3 ability, we can get it down from a 6 to a 4 turn cooldown with 100% provoke and a counterattack on this champion for 2 turns. I need to tell you guys why it makes a lot of sense to book the heck out of Nari the Lucky. I love this dude. I think he's super underrated as well. Guys, I hope this video made some sense. Even if we didn't cover your favorite champion, as I said in the beginning, there's so many good champions. I'd be here all day. I want to talk about champions that you can get by with, even if you've been a long-time free-to-play champion. Maybe you went for a couple of these fusions. Maybe you skipped a bunch of these fusions. Well, either way, you're going to have the daily login reward champions. You'll have the opportunity to buy champions from the clan shop or from the bazaar as well. So I think that if you use this strategy, looking out for the things that we spoke about in today's video, you're going to be a-okay. Guys, thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. I appreciate all of you, and as always, take care, guys.